You're listening to the Random Thoughts Podcast with Robert Omoto.
That's random. Oh, that's random.
Thanks for doing this, man. I know you got a lot going on. I didn't want to make you take a shower, man. I was like, shit, you don't have to do that.
Oh, I'm ready now.
Okay.
When I woke up today, I never took a shower, so this side of my hair was all pressed down like this. So I'm ready to go.
I don't think I took one yesterday.
Okay. Yeah,
And,
I definitely did not take one yesterday either. So
you know what? I felt bad too, because like when you sent the message, I replied back, and then I saw you hadn't read it today too. I'm like, dude, he might miss one again on accident because he hasn't read it. I was like, he's gonna feel bad, and I was telling my girl, I'm like, he's not like that. So I was like, I'm gonna feel bad. I was actually gonna feel bad if you didn't see it again.
Oh no.
But I would have gave you shit for it just to mess with you.
Dude, I set my alarm for this one. I was like, because usually I'll put it in my phone and it'll just give me a reminder. But for whatever reason, I didn't put it in there and I fucked it all up. So
you don't care about Asians, and that's where I wanted to start the show.
Ow.
No, I totally get it, man. With as busy as you are, and as like you got kids and all that stuff going on, I never take it personal.
Well,
I assume you had some stuff going on. I had done one right before that too, so it wasn't a big deal.
I don't like to miss meetings. That was terrible.
It's all good, man. I really didn't. It didn't bother me at all. But just let you know that's the end of the podcast. And
okay. So simple.
No, I had a great time. I was talking to Taylor the other day, man, doing the top 10 show. The last one on the boardwalk, right? That was gonna be the.
You guys were great on that. That was one of my favorite episodes. It was so damn funny. That and I was honest too. Like the last time I had Taylor on, and we did the what would you bring in your house to a zombie apocalypse, and I was like, it was great.
That's a good topic. That's the main thing, is to be able to pick a topic that you can, because it's like he really wanted to win, which I don't care about. Like I was like, dude, they're like fake points. Like I was like, I think he goes, I don't care, I want to win, and I'm like, they're not like real points.
Right.
I was like, so, but we were trying to pick something, and sometimes it's like you run into. I think the original topic was like Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage movies, and we realized bad ones. We realized we both haven't seen them all, and now it's gonna force me to watch those bad ones.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that, you know.
But not only that, like I think the best topics are the ones where people can relate to them. So like everybody has people in their life that they're like, stop doing that shit. So when you did that episode, when it was like things people need to stop doing, people are like, yes. Now, unfortunately, most of the stuff you said people should stop doing are all things that I do. So
I didn't feel bad. You're like trying to write down. You're getting he's like, wait a minute, I do that.
Wait a second. But yeah, I think like everybody thinks about what they would do in a zombie apocalypse. Like I know for sure that I would just resolve to die, because I know that eventually I would die in a zombie apocalypse. So, because I don't shoot guns or anything, you know, so I would die. But
you think you would get killed off by a zombie or somebody that's like you're with the group you're with?
No, I almost think that I'm just going to walk out into the middle of a field and be like, just do it. Get it over with.
Oh, that's when we wake up in the morning. Like I wake up and it's like, and I see you're already too far, and everyone starts screaming like, Brian, and you don't turn around.
And I was like, shh, I can't do it anymore. Yeah, I wouldn't do well in a zombie apocalypse. COVID is the closest I get to a zombie apocalypse.
I'm not good at that either, and I realized that in the beginning, because my girl gave me a shopping list of stuff to go get. And I don't like people like judging me. So like, this is when it first started. She gave me a list of all these cleaning stuff and all this. We need to stock up on food. And I threw, I think, some wipes in the thing or some Windex. And then someone looked at me funny. And I was like, fuck this. I literally came back with Windex and ground beef, hella ground beef. Like, she was like, what is all this? She goes, we have to go back to the stores. I couldn't do it. They're looking at me like.
They know I'm not good at this. Yeah, dude, we did the same thing. We have a whole box next in our like pantry of just stuff we were going to take with us if all of a sudden because, you know, like at first I was like, how bad is this going to get? Are people going to start rioting and like looting people's houses because there's not going to be any food? And I don't know. It was crazy.
Well, and I don't like, oh, I will say I do have a gun just in case.
Yeah.
You're going to come attack me, but I don't have a gun. So in the beginning, I was just putting all these weapons around the house, but I just realized that would make it a more violent murder. They would be killing me because I was putting like, I put a saw, like, which would be a very violent death if someone came in. So now they're going to saw me in half. And it's like, I had hammers all over I was hiding them. And I did that for a day before. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is going to be brutal.
Right.
When they come in.
It's so weird. This whole thing has been strange, dude. It makes you think about things you don't think about. Like, I got to put food in a bin so that in case the neighborhood starts to go to shit, I can put it in my car and start to drive out of town. You know, like, it's just, the whole thing is dumb. The whole thing is dumb. I'm so done with COVID. And the thing that gets me most of all about this whole thing is that most of this could have been prevented if we just had a little bit of leadership. If we just had somebody that said, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to give you money until everything gets back to normal, you know? But now we're all screwed. Now there's people that don't have jobs, and people are starting to get evicted from homes, and we didn't have to be here. You know, it's like a self-inflicted gunshot.
That's what I'm wondering, what it's, you know, a couple years back when we look back. Because I was watching, what was I watching the other day? It's called The Loudest Voice on Amazon Prime. It's how Fox News was created. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's with Russell Crowe playing Roger Ailes. Really good. And I had never seen it, but everything they were talking about and how people were thinking about 9/11. Now, when you look back at it, you're like, dude, there wasn't like a second huge attack, you know, but everyone was panicking, saying that, and it was crazy. Now you're able to look back at it. Hindsight's 20/20, but you're able to look back and you're like, oh man, that's like now. Cause I know when we look back now, we're going to be like, I can't believe, you know, people were thinking like that. We were hoarding food. I'm curious as to what those thoughts will be of like what we were so wrong about.
Well, you know how they call like people who were in World War II the greatest generation, because everybody, you know, either was going to war or helping the war effort at home, and women for the first time were in factories and creating tanks and planes. We are the dumbest generation, dude. We were asked to stay inside with masks on for 8 weeks could have taken care of the whole thing, right? And we were like, no, we can't do that for 8 weeks. We fought a war in the 40s for years, and we were rationing food, but you asked us to put on a mask and stay your ass inside for 8 weeks. And it was like hell came, and we're like, no, we can't do it. So we're the dumbest generation. People are going to look back and be like, those people were absolutely stupid.
Did you see, what did you ever see certain things where you're like, man, this isn't going to work? Because I remember when they kind of opened back up, I saw everyone going down to the Sacramento River and just saw everyone just interacting. I'm like, oh my God. Like this, remember they showed like video footage? I'm like, this isn't going to work. And then I went to the mall when they kind of opened back up, and one store was taking everyone's temperature, right? And right next door to it they weren't. And it was more people that I've ever seen in a store. I'm like, what's the point? I was like, I realized then, I'm like, this isn't going to work.
No. Yeah. At first, cause you know, the comedy spot's in Midtown. So I'd come down here and there was nobody around. I remember first coming down into Midtown, and I could have ran all the way down 20th Street. Nobody, no cars, no nothing, no people. And that was like March, April. And then, you know, people start opening up a little bit. But then, and I'm not going to call them out by name, but a certain restaurant that's really close to us, there were hella people outside. And they weren't like away from each other. They were like all standing, waiting to get into this outside area. But they're standing, you know, right next to each other, all piled up around this building and then all the way across the street. I'm like, we're effed, dude. Like, this is what's going to make I knew that about this time we were going to have to start closing up again, because nobody was doing anything. Nobody takes this serious, and everybody's all butthurt that they can't go out to bars and stuff like that. But now where are we at? You know, now you can't even go inside and eat at a restaurant, you know, comedy clubs, theaters, music venues, people that are, you know, playing bands, actors, comedians. What are we doing now? We're doing Zoom shows, you know. It's like, it's just jacked. It's just jacked. Nobody nobody wants to make a sacrifice, and then like our building on top of everything else, they want to charge us full rent when we can't even do 90% of what we're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me that the time has passed where helping out was a thing. And so, we're having to pay a rent that, quite frankly, we're not going to be able to afford very long. I mean, it's like, we usually do classes and shows, but classes is probably 60%, not probably, it's 60% of how we pay the bills. So when you take our classes away, it's like if you go to a normal comedy club, their bar might be the thing that really pays the bills, right? Because they can mark up all their liquor. We only have a beer bar here. So the way we actually make money is off of our classes. We have 16 people in a class, and we have, 2 101 classes going. We have a 201 class, a 301, a stand-up class, a sketch class. Those are the things that pay our bills. We haven't been able to do hardly any of those. And we haven't been able to crack the code on how to get a lot of people to take online classes. So it's like, it's just tough. It's just tough. And it seems like, we're just begging for grant money and taking out loans and trying to do all we can online and begging people for donations. And that's not what that's not how I don't like asking people for things,
Right.
So anyway, it's just, nobody took it serious. And now we've had a year of, almost complete closures when we could have gotten away with a couple months. So there's just no leadership. It's just too bad.
That's what I mean. Honestly, when I was in there last Friday and I walked by to go to the bathroom and I'm looking at the stage, I'm like, dude, I have not been on that stage I was picturing all the times, like, go to open mics there every Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I have not been out there in like 8 months. That's crazy. Because like when this whole first thing started happening, I thought, everyone probably thought a couple months, maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months would be crazy. And now we're almost at it's easy to see it going to a year. I'm like, this ain't going to why would it get better in, by January or something like that? But you recently started doing the shows outside. And what was the decision to actually like finally start like, okay, I'm going to start putting on shows again? Because you were doing everything online for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like, walk me through that process of when you finally decided like actually.
So we started planning on doing things outside in July. That's when we were going to start because the numbers were starting to come down. And we were like, okay, that'll be perfect. We'll open up in July. We'll do stuff outside. We'll have classes outside. And then the numbers really never came down. And technically, the county has never really allowed performance venues to open up again. But then you saw places like another club in town, they opened up and started doing stand-up. After we had already said we probably can't do it, let's just give up on the idea. We had already built a mobile bar for outside and everything. What sucked, I swear there's somebody here. Hold on a sec.
Is there? Yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm just glad it wasn't somebody I left the door open. I'm going to get murdered. Anyway, so we were going to do stuff.
By the way, I would have had to air to see you get murdered online. I would have had to. I have to. That's a viral thing. I got to let it go.
Dude, that would have got clicks for real. That would have been good. We were going to do stuff outside. And then the owners of our building came to us and said, well, this other comedy club in town is doing stuff outside. And I was like, yeah, man, that's great. They're technically not allowed to, but, they're doing it,
Is the caveat a food thing too? Like, because you have to be serving food to be considered?
You have to be serving food outside, yeah. And again, like, I don't even know if they were, if they should have been or whatever. I mean, I applaud them. They made a great thing work outside. So, but then our building came back to us again and was like, I talked to Azul and they said that they would help you out and do stuff outside for you. So they're already like, they were really pushing us to go in that direction. And that's when we just decided, well, let's go ahead and do it because obviously what the building is saying is we want to raise your rent. You need to go outside and be able to afford this. And so that's what we did. And, now it's cold and it's not a great thing to be outside freezing your butt off the entire time. And we already spent $3,000 just to be able to do stuff outside, so we don't want to spend more money on heaters and tents and all this other stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's why I was really interested in every time I talk to you since I've gone back. It's like, just because I've always worked in restaurants and bars, and I just can't imagine. And I worked at De Beers for the longest time, so I know the owners there, Henry and Simon. And so I helped open the one in Davis, and I've seen, worked at the downtown one a ton of times. And I just know I'm just trying to figure out, like, can't imagine all the adjustments and how stressful everything would be. So, like, I was really interested in hearing you talk to me, and that's why I only got to talk to you for brief moments of time when we're in between shows and stuff. But that's what I was interested in, because by the way, the Sacramento Comedy Spot is like staple in the Sacramento comedy scene. You guys do have the stand-up classes, you have improv, throw comedy shows. That's why I first did my first open mic. I took the stand-up class. I took an improv class there. So that is it. I mean, I was, every time I go there, I am like very, like, I have like an emotional attachment to your place. And I hope, everything ends up working out. But, like, what were you doing before? Because I never knew your background. What were you doing before you opened the Comedy Spot? Were you working just like a normal job?
So I've been doing comedy in Sacramento for 19 years now. Initially, so I had just gotten out of college, and my buddy was like, "What are you gonna do now?" And I was like, "I don't know, like, I have no clue." And I wanted to get into theater. Like, I really wanted to do like plays, and I wanted to go down to LA and do acting and things like that. I got married and I had kids like really early. So then I was looking for like theater things I could do locally in Sacramento where I wouldn't have to move to LA. So a buddy of mine said, "Well, you should start a sketch comedy group." So I did that in like 2001, and we did that for like almost 7 years. And in that time, we decided that we would open up the Comedy Spot because we really wanted a place to teach classes, sketch classes.
Where would you guys be performing those? Like,
you
started it, and then where would you guys?
We would perform in every bar that would take us. So there was the main place that we started to perform with our sketch group was at the Ramada Inn off of Business 80 on Fulton Bowl. Like, do you know that place?
Yes, I know exactly where that's at.
It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
but,
it's real sketchy. Would you be in the bar area? Or were you
yeah, the bar area. So that place had like a little stage, but what we did is we would bring in our own stage, our own backdrop, our own sound system, our own lights, and we would load it in on a Friday night. We would do 2 shows, and then we would load all that stuff back out, and then we would do that every week. And we did that every week for an entire year. We did a brand new sketch show for an entire year, and then we started doing it monthly. And then when we lost that place because they didn't pay for we did a gig there for New Year's and they didn't pay us, and I had to take them to small claims court. And I was like, I don't want to be there anymore. So then we would just go to different bars around Sacramento. I mean, we performed at Fox and Goose. We performed at the Stony Inn on Del Paso Boulevard. We converted this old theater and this old hotel called the Beverly Garland that nobody could find. And nobody would come see shows there. And they had an illegal bar that they said was totally legal. So then eventually, I don't even know. I guess we were settling at the Stony Inn on Del Paso. That kind of became our monthly spot. And then we opened up the Comedy Spot just for classes. But then eventually we turned that into a theater. And it was a real small theater with a real small stage. And it was on Broadway. And we opened that place up. And then a couple years later is when we moved in 2009 to the Mars building, which we couldn't afford. And I'm pretty sure when we first got in here, they were like, well, we'll just put them in here for a year just to have something going on at the building. But I don't think they ever really thought we were going to make it. And then we just kept plugging away, and that's where we're at now.
What was the decision to move to the Mars building? Because was the other place closing, or you just wanted a nicer? Because that place, that location is like perfect too. Like,
yeah. Like this is great.
Part
here,
of
yeah.
J Street or what is it? J Street.
It's J and 20th. Yeah, it's perfect. It's right in Midtown. It's like it's our vibe for sure. We were at the old location, and Edie Lambert from KCRA News came by and saw a show, and she really liked it. She saw one of our improv shows, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go to Tower and get some dessert? And I was like, yes, I do. And then we talked to her, and she goes, I know a guy that can get you into a better location. He's looking for tenants right now. And that was a guy named Michael Heller, who used to own this building. So she went and talked to him, and then he sent one of his representatives to come and see us. And we had the worst show ever. But then they ended up extending an invitation for us to come to the building. But I think this was in the recession, right? So there were a lot of real estate open, and I think they just needed somebody to fill the spot. So they gave us a great price. It was more expensive than what we were paying, but for the area, it was a really good price at the time. But they would only give us a 1-year lease because I just don't think – I think they had it in their mind they were going to find somebody better to take that spot and charge them more, and then we were just going to have to find something else. But every year, every time they raised the rent, of course, we were able to afford it. And then in about 2012, we actually started to turn a profit where we weren't, debating on what bill we were going to pay to keep the place open. So
had you'd never ran a business before that? Like that was you just jumped in with everybody?
I wanted to be a business person. What does that even mean, dude? I was a business major in college, and I hated it, dude. I hated it. And so I ended up taking a semester off. I just decided that was it for a while. And during that time, I was like, yeah, I want to be an actor. And so I went and changed majors at Sac State and took theater classes there, but had never really ever ran a business or anything like that. Now, all the stuff I learned in that business program, because I was in there for like 3.5 years, I used a lot of that, or at least, the classes that pertain to what I was doing. But I had never really started a business. And dude, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not a business person. I've managed to keep this thing going for as long as I have, not because I'm a good business person. It's because I have a passion for what we're doing, because I believe I've always, once I got into the comedy scene here, there was only one local club that would even have local comedians up on their stage. That was Laughs Unlimited. They were one of the first clubs in Sacramento. So they were the only ones that would have people that were locals up on their stage. But there was no improv. There was no sketch comedy. There was just stand-up. And if you were a local person, you really didn't get on. There was no place for you, So the Comedy Spot was the first place to have a regular open mic night every single week. We started that almost immediately in 2005, 2006 or whatever. So we had a regular open mic night. We had regular, improv classes. You might have even heard our improv or our open mic night called Scramble. It's because we wanted it to be like a mixture of improv, stand-up, and sketch, where people would just get up there and try out all kinds of comedy. But it really just turned into a stand-up open mic, which is fine. That was perfect.
But in the beginning, it was mixed, though? The improv would go up with open mic?
We tried, but that's quickly became mostly stand-up comedians. So we ended up building other things for improv and sketch people to do. But again, we were one of the first people to do that. We were the first people to offer classes. We were, first regular improv shows in town, first regular sketch comedy classes in town. And so really, all I did is I built the Comedy Spot so me and my seven friends could have a place to be able to train other people and expand on what we were doing. But I really quickly realized that we were really good for the Sacramento stand-up scene. So it's always been my goal to make Sacramento into the Chicago of the West Coast, to have this really great comedy scene, but it's not in Hollywood or New York. It's just really great comedians trying to get better at what they're doing all the time, and give them a place to do that as cheap as possible and get on stage as many times as possible. So that's why, if you're in our improv program, we don't make you pay to get on stage and get stage time like a lot of theaters do. We pay coaches to coach people for free to get up on stage so that they can do what stand-ups do, which is hone and practice their craft, So that's what we're all about. That's why a Comedy Spot works. It initially was just me wanting to do something good for the comedy scene, and then people got on board with that. And then they're the ones that keep this place open. They're the ones that tell people about it because we put out a good product. We put out something different. So I'm not a good business person. I will never be a good business person. I'm just really good at knowing that this place was much bigger than me and getting out of the way and let other people get involved and let the community kind of push where we go, And I mean, yeah, I do set the tone. I do set the goals, but really this has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do about passion. And that's why it stays open. That's why it's still open right now, even though we haven't done a live show in 8 months, is because the community had the back of the Comedy Spot to keep it open.
Right.
So,
but you are a good, I mean, I know you're saying that, but you are a good business person because look what it started with. And then I'm sure a lot of the things that you've decided on have been through trial and error, right? Because it's like you said, oh, I'm going to try improv and stand-up open mic, that's why I was like, that's a horrible idea to like try to mix the two. You got someone putting on a wig in between me going up.
Wasn't good, dude. Didn't work.
But so, I'm sure the business classes helped, right? But so what were some of the, I think biggest mistakes that you made early on that you, I'm sure everything had to be by trial and error. You're like, that was not a good idea.
Yeah. That's it. Like everything I've done has sucked before it got better. So it's like, we started off doing more short form improv, which was, that's like the game-based stuff you see at like Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I went down to LA because my friend had moved. He is the first. He's still a friend of mine today, really good friend of mine today, Jeff Sloniker. He moved to LA after he had been in my sketch comedy group. And I went to visit him, and he was taking classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade and the Improv Olympic down in LA, which are like the top theaters in the United States for improv and sketch, right? And I saw them perform down there, and I was like, that's what I want to bring to Sacramento. I don't want to do game-based improv. I want to do more scene-based improv. Like, that's more fun to me. It's more of a challenge. So I took classes in LA. I lived here in Sacramento, but I would fly down. I would drive down. I had a weekly class, 8-week weekly class where I would drive down or fly down every single week so I could make my weekly class. And then I'd get back on a plane or get back in my car and drive back to be at work on Monday. Because I still did a day job up until about 2012, 2013.
What was your day job?
I worked at the airport as a Skycap, where I would check people on at the curb for mostly tip money.
Oh, I love that. I love Skycap.
Yeah, dude.
I show up late, man. Southwest, you get a cut. That's the best thing. I don't know why people don't know about that. That's the best thing ever.
If you have a $20 bill, it's a very powerful thing to get you on a plane on time if you're running behind. So like if there would be a line even outside for the Skycaps, people would come up and be like, "Hey, man, can you help me out?" And be like, "Yes, I can." And
I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that.
All you got to do is show a little bit of money. If you're super late and you need to be someplace, a $20 bill goes a long way.
Because if you go up to the main counter and they're like, they put the thing on, the late thing, and like, your bag might make it. Like, what?
Yeah.
They
don't care. They're like, get in line. But, with a Skycap, they're like, 20, and then they'll check you in really quick.
I will remember that. And he's going to look at me like, dude, this is a 1. Like, what do you? It's like, no, dude, come on.
Or you would get people that'd be like, hey, man, can you help me out? And you would think they know what's going on, so you'd be like, all right, and you'd help them out, and then they'd be like, thank you, and not give you any money, and you're like,
yeah, because it's not written anywhere that you have to tip. It's like kind of a known thing, right?
Right.
I have seen people use it and they don't tip, and I'm like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts, dude.
Does that guy's bag never make it on the flight? That's what I was figuring.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. There used to be a time with Skycaps. Like, it's kind of an old school job. I mean, Skycaps before, you couldn't even apply for Skycap jobs. That's a job that a guy would give his son when he became old enough to work at the airport, right? Because it's a job where it requires zero college or any training or anything like that. And you can make thousands of dollars a year in tips, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Because it's just you two, right? Like, or like does every airline have it?
Every airline used to have it. I don't know where it's at now, but okay. Southwest used to have 4 or 5 people that would work outside, at one time.
I would always plan on like not getting there on time. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to go to Skycap.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you that you can make hella money out there. That's the only thing that kept the Comedy Spot alive 2005 to 2012 is I would get my tip money and I would be paying for bills out of my tip money from the airport. I was subsidizing the Comedy Spot for the first, 5-6 years we were in existence. So it was really good to have a cash job like that too, because if I needed extra money to pay a bill that we didn't think we were going to have, I could go out there on an extra shift and make $200 in a day, and then pay stuff for the Comedy Spot.
But at what point did you realize, like, okay, I can like turn this? I eventually I'm going to use this to be able to leave this job. Like I think like most comedians view like working at their day job. Like if I work hard enough, I can use this to fund my passion and then hopefully leave it.
Right.
Like, did that not become like a realistic goal or realistic for until later?
Well, what's funny is I never considered what I was doing as something that was going to replace my day job. So when I even first started the Comedy Spot, it was just going to be a place to teach classes at night where I thought, yeah, maybe I might make a little money teaching classes or something like that, but it wasn't going to replace my day job. I was even looking to start teaching. I was going to take my theater degree and start teaching like theater at a high school. That was the other backup plan. But then I realized I couldn't take my degree that I had in theater and put it towards a teaching credential. They wouldn't accept that. Now they do. They've since passed a law. So then I was like, damn, I can't even teach theater at a high school. So I just kept plugging away. And then eventually what happened is we did start to make a little bit of money. And I was like, I think I can do this. But even when I first started working for the Comedy Spot full time, I wouldn't pay myself. I wouldn't pay myself if things were bad. And so there was a time when I had bought a car and I had it for a couple years.
I saw it. It was a Bentley. I remember it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A Pontiac vibe, sir. A Pontiac vibe.
You told me I did whatever to get a bunch of people under me and I could make money. I remember I gave you $20,000 and I didn't remember what happened to it.
I'm not a businessman, dude. That's the thing. I bought a Pontiac Vibe, new off the lot, which is the stupidest thing ever. But I couldn't afford the payments. Like I just couldn't afford the payments. So I actually called GM and I was like, you have to come get this car. And they came and got the car. They repossessed it from me because I couldn't pay the payments. But it was either that or pay the power for the Comedy Spot. And so I felt like I'm in this now as an employee. I might as well keep it going because I think that in the future it might be able to actually pay me. But I was still doing a lot of odd jobs and part-time jobs and stuff like that. So.
But see, that is another smart thing you were doing. You knew. Like, hey, I need to pay these other bills first. Where you see a lot of places where like they'll just, everything will work out. Like you were cognizant enough to know, like, no, this is not good, right? I shouldn't have bought that car. Yeah. Get rid of the car first instead of trying to keep the car and whatever you were doing, charging people triple for their luggage at the Skycap, and then you're on the news for scamming people. Skycap employee arrested, and then you're in the airport in cuffs.
It was bad, man. It was like by the time I called them, I knew they were looking for me. I knew they were going to repossess the car, but I wanted to save face and be like, you can come get it. Like I'm going to be honest, but it was just because like I was getting anxiety. I was like hiding the car at my mom's house with like the back license plate towards the house so they couldn't go by and read it and stuff. And it's just dumb, dude. It's just dumb.
My dad didn't believe in paying parking tickets. He would leave. He worked in downtown, like right there on 9th and like L. And he has this weird thing against the government and authority. He would leave. He drove my brother's car, left it there, and then it stopped working. And my brother was getting tickets. He's like, I got to get it towed. He's like, no, I'll take care of it. And he just kept getting tickets like every day. And he's like, don't worry, I'll take care. My dad doesn't know anything. Like he's not going to go down. He's not a lawyer. Like all of a sudden, my brother's had like thousands of dollars in tickets. And I told him, like, move your car. Like they're not going to take care of this thing. But I get that about moving the car though. Like he would do that too. That's what I was saying. Like you were probably just moving you would never park near the Comedy Spot. On the train tracks.
Well, the good thing is I was living downtown at that point, And so I could park it pretty much anywhere because it was close to the Comedy Spot, but I didn't have to like park it next to the Comedy Spot. But I knew they were out, and then you get phone calls from them too. They're like, you need to pay your bill. I was like, I can't pay my bills, So anyway, it's just, I kept it going for as long as I could, and it ended up paying off, but it was never really meant to be my primary income. I never thought it was going to be that thing, But when I got close, that's when I started to go like, maybe this could be something I could live off of.
But that's probably why stuff works though, right? Because if you think too much about like something in the future and you're not just hammering away at step by step, like sometimes people think too far ahead, people who just start comedy, like how do I become a headliner? Like, dude, just go to open mics first. Like, just see if you can do that.
Yeah. Don't suck for 5 minutes. Start there, I really believe in that too. Like I think another reason the Comedy Spot worked is, you mentioned it earlier, is just like trial and error. So I'm going to try this new thing. Like, for example, like I always knew in the fall, like around October, we would always be like really in trouble for money. It was just a really slow time because we would get into November and December and people just don't want to go out and see comedy as much, like in the later parts of the year.
Yeah.
Because people are doing, they're doing.
And the weather here sucks. Yeah.
Holiday stuff, So I knew that in October we needed to have something big to kind of pay for our bills going into the lean months. Because again, people don't want to take classes during that time either because, they're doing holiday stuff. So that's why the festival was started. I started the festival because I needed something to be able to help pay the bills. I needed a big event to kind of help us out going into the slower times. So it started off as something to be able to help pay the bills, but it turned into the stand-up competition. It eventually turned up into the competition, and that turned into its own event that we did in the summer. So a lot of the stuff that I've done over the years was to maintain, to make sure we don't close, to make sure we can pay the bills. But then it always comes out that it has a much bigger contribution to the community and to Sacramento and to comics who are just starting off, and so it's always been try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, try something else. How can we make money? How can we stay open for another month? And then I'm in my car today, like thinking of this, new thing we can do with the video technology we have that might be able to help us pay the bills a little bit so we can get through all this crap until we can start opening up the live stuff again. So it's just adapting. That's why they keep saying, all right, I'm going to go on a rant for just like 2 seconds.
I want you to, yeah.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, we're all in this together about COVID. And then they're like, and you have to adapt what you're doing to the new environment, right? Dude, I've been adapting every single day I've been doing this job. I always adapt. We're always trying to do something new. We're always trying to bring something new to the fold. We had all these plans to do a film festival this year as part of our comedy festival that we do at the end of the year. So it's like I have been adapting, but there's only so much you can adapt to when they're telling you can't do the 2 things that you've been doing for the last 19 years. Like we teach in-person classes and we do in-person shows, and we've adapted it as much as we possibly can without just turning it into a brand new business. I don't want to do shows just by live stream for the rest of my life. Like that's fun and I enjoy it, but I enjoy a live audience, so I don't know. There's only so much adapting you can do, and I guess I just get mad because it's like we're always adapting, but when you're changing a business, like I don't sell sausages, bro. I do comedy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like you're asking me to adapt to do something completely different. I don't want to fucking sell sausages. I want to do comedy in front of an audience.
Who's pushing that? Who's pushing that?
No,
agenda?
nobody.
You have to sell sausages.
My mom, she wants me to sell sausages. Ryan, just sell sausages. And I'm like, that's a great idea, Mom. No, I don't want to do that.
Oh, they're gonna walk inside. What is that smell? And your smoke alarm's going off.
Why is
Are there
Brian
any
Crall-
sides? No, there's no sides. It's just the sausages.
It's the Sacramento sausage spot.
Sausage
That's
fest.
terrible.
The
Sounds
Sacramento
terrible.
Sausage Fest. Throw that and let me see what kind of clientele you got. Kind of rate you start.
Did I gay bar? I'm like, no, I sell sausages. Oh man.
But yeah, that's another. I mean, I am very interested in like seeing how you just have to keep adjusting because, like, again, too, it's like they keep making these rules or things that you can do to open up, and then you do it, and then they change the rules again. So I can't imagine, you know. And again, too, I worked in bars my whole life, so I already know like when bars are doing the outside thing, and I'm like, they can't. 100% of 25% capacity is not going to work. Like I don't know how. Like I would, you know, if a place is 25% full and I was working there, it would cut everybody. I could probably do that myself. You know, like all this I'd be able to handle it by myself. So that's what I'm, you know.
It's mind-boggling to me, and I get it. You know, I've done all this bitching about all this, but I am one of these people believe in COVID, that it is a thing, that it does kill people, and we should do all we can to not kill people. You know, but because of the lack of leadership, that's why we're still in this predicament. You know, New Zealand had they had a concert. Did you see that video of the concert that was in New Zealand?
No.
Packed full of people, just thousands and thousands of people. But that's because they had a leader that was like, we're going to do this and you're not going to like it and you're going to stay home. But here's the thing. We're going to pay you $4,000 a month to stay home and survive, and everything's going to be okay. And they did. They got it down to zero. So they were able to go out and run around and have concerts. But with us, they're like, we're going to give you $1,500 and we're going to give you the middle finger. And you have to figure out how to pay your bills when you can't get a job, because your restaurant job where you used to make $600 of tips in a week is now you're only making $25 in tips a week because you're at 25%. You know, it's like, it's ridiculous. You know, they cut your hours. You're only working 2 days a week. Nobody can survive off of that.
Yeah. And the $1,500 was once for this 8 months, you know, and I never even got mine. I think the mailman stole it. I need to talk to that fucker because and when you go on the website, it's like, don't contact us about the check. It got sent out in May. I'm like, Vanessa everyone else got theirs. I never got mine.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how is that supposed to sustain you? $1,500 for 8 months. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's now, and unemployment is about to run out for the people who got it when the first thing started hitting. Cause I have a friend who got it and he was loving it at first, but now it's like, it's about to run out. It's like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? You know,
my girlfriend has been applying for jobs. Well, first of all, it took her like months to even get unemployment because, you know, they were so far behind, and then she gets it and then she's about ready to run out, you know, but nobody's hiring right now. Everybody's kind of like, they don't know what's going to happen next. Meanwhile, you know, Canadians are getting $2,000 a month to survive this whole thing. It boggles my mind. Dude, I get so angry just talking about it because I really do think people will look back at this time and be like, dude, like the United States is like a third world country, you know? Like our motto is like, you got COVID? Die! You know, you might die. Good luck. Let's go out and eat it lowbrow.
That's depending on where you live too. Like in the beginning in Placer, like people just they didn't want to wear them at first, and I'd be wearing it and I felt weird. But then you go to Midtown, everyone's wearing it, so it was just like a weird. I was like, man, this is people are not gonna be on the same page about this whole thing.
No, because you had to have leaders that told you this is the page you're going to be on. You needed leaders to go like, this is what we're doing. Don't do anything other than this.
That's what I'm saying, Brian. Sacrifices need to be made. He should have been in charge and said, this is what's going to happen. And then someone says, no, I'm not doing that. You pistol whip that guy and get him. You know, you make an example out of him.
If you would have put the mob in charge of the CDC, COVID wouldn't exist right now.
That's what I'm saying. Just two people need to get pistol whipped on camera for us to get in line. Like, oh.
That guy got the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. He was just trying to go to a PetSmart. Like, no.
I'm wearing my mask all the time, bro.
If you hit him over the head with a bag of dog food and that food goes flying, and he's, are there any questions? Like, that would get everybody in line, I feel like.
Everybody would be wearing masks right now. Yeah, dude, it's just weird to me.
What's so you've been running Comedy Spot, owner of Comedy Spot for a long time. Like, what's the best thing about owning for yourself? Like, you know, what is the best thing about owning a comedy club?
Well, and I have to be I have to tell you this too. Like, so I don't actually own the Comedy Spot. I am just an employee of the Comedy Spot. We gave the ownership of the Comedy Spot to a nonprofit, and so the nonprofit owns the Comedy Spot, and I'm just an employee of the nonprofit. So I run everything,
Sounds
but
like
I don't
money
actually,
laundering caveat. I don't know what you just said.
dude. I wish everything would be so much easier that way.
I don't know what kind of Skycap scheme this is. All right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm like very honest because this would be great right now to have some extra money coming in. So no, so I don't own. I'm just an employee. But I just wanted to be.
Okay,
not that it
it
matters. I just wanted to be clear that I don't actually own any of this. So
I'm gonna edit that out, so it doesn't matter. I'm gonna.
Ironically, I could get fired, and 15 years of Comedy Spot work is just up in smoke anyway. So that's fine. But you know, like I said, I started the Comedy Spot just so that we could have a place where we could start doing the things that other comedy clubs weren't doing, you know, sketch and improv and really doing classes and having a community. But I didn't really think that the community would grow like it did. It turns out that being able to meet new people, you know, a lot of the people that end up doing improv and sketch aren't like stand-ups where they think at some point in the future they're going to be able to survive off of this or they're going to be big. I think with a lot of improv and sketch people, they're doing it because they want to create. They want to do something fun and exciting and be funny. They want to put on a good product, but they're not necessarily thinking it's going to be a job for them. Not the majority of people. Some people do, which is great too, and they end up usually going to LA or New York or something like that. But what happened is I've been able to maintain a community of people that really want to create things, but focus on a good product. So it's not that we're just doing things and it sucks. We're doing things and it's fun. And we have all these people that take care of each other. So if something would happen to somebody here, you have people that have your back. You know, like I just recently had a family member of mine pass away, and it was real hard for me. It was hard for me to have to get up and make people laugh. And, you know, like I'm still doing these live stream shows. But I had people, you know, I had community members get flowers from my mom. You know, I had people come here and take over shifts for me and run shows. You know, and more than that, like one of my best friends is Chris Emery. I adjudicated. I was the I did the ceremony for his wedding. So, you know, he's a guy I perform with all the time. Michelle started doing sketch comedy with me when she was 18. She's still here doing stuff at the Comedy Spot. You know, like Nick and Michaela met each other at a sketch comedy class. They got married and they have a child. All of these people have made connections through the Comedy Spot. Betsy Sidaro was one of our first performers here at the Comedy Spot. My friend Jeff had already moved down to LA. We convinced Betsy to go to LA instead of Chicago. She took classes at Upright Citizens Brigade. She turned into one of their best performers. She has been on Netflix shows, movies. She was just in another television show. Somebody just sent me a clip of another television show that she's on. So her life is changed because I decided that I wanted to start a little piece of shit, small ass comedy club that was just there so that we could do improv and sketch and stand up. So it wasn't, you know, the best part of this is the people. It's all the people that have somehow come together and they help each other out and they get better at what they do. And there's a release and there's creativity and you know, there's purpose. It's not just going and doing a job and hating it. It's, I'm going to do my job and I'm going to hate it. I'm going to get off at 5 and I'm going to go to an open mic and I'm going to try this dumbass joke out, and it might hit, or it might hit next time. And I might be able to do 20 minutes someplace, and I might be able to travel and do a college show, or, you know, or eventually be a headliner, put out my own record deal. You know, there's all those things have happened because of the Comedy Spot. So I really like the people. I'm not a business person. I just really like, I guess I did this just so I could have more friends. That's what it comes down to. I'm doing it just for friends.
He said he's not a business person, but he's holding a briefcase as we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, and this is filled with $1 million. No, man. Anyway, I just really enjoy being around pretty amazing people.
That's one of my favorite things about that place is from the moment that I went there and started doing open mics, it's just like you meet, you know, all types of different people, because there's not, you know, your mics were the only ones usually going on those days. And I've got to see people hone stuff that ends up being on TV. You know, Kyrie ends up going on these, and he's working these things out there, you know, JR,
right.
or, you know, people putting things on Netflix or Tonight Show or Amazon that I've seen them workshop that thing there, and we went and talked about it outside right there on the patio.
Right.
And, you know, Ben Rice was one of the first people to come up to tell me after things like, you should come out more. Cause I was just going out I would go to every now and then, but he's like, you should come out more. You're funny.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone's even paying attention to me, because I would just go to like some random open mics, but
right.
And that was, you know, your comedy class is one of the things when people ask me, I'm like, you know, you can, you know, that was a way for me to, it's something when I enrolled in it was something to hold me accountable, because I was having a lot of anxiety about going up.
Yeah.
To force me to go up and stop making excuses about whatever I didn't go up on that Sunday or Monday for, because I would write all these things and not go. I'm like, I would actually hope for something to, like my parents hit me up, say we're having dinner. I'm like, oh, I can't go. You know,
hey, sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have to, you know, go bomb in front of people maybe, and I would get a lot of anxiety about it. But then I remember I enrolled in the class, and then I started having to perform just in the class, and then do the thing, and then that's kind of what made me like, okay, now go do what you do, or you can do it or you don't now. But it's really like you know, Patrick talking to everyone there, you talking to the people there, going to the show that you have, the Comedy Exchange, right? That's one of my favorite shows to do, where it's improv. And then you do a set, and then they do more improv based off your set. Some of the funnest shows I've seen is there, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even really watch, I mean, you're right. But outside of that, there's no other improv going on in Sacramento. So I'd stick around and watch those shows, even sometimes after I do stand up. Cause you know, I know you guys are working on that just as hard as we are at open mics and stuff. So I like to see, that's one of the things that I really miss. And I really like about that. I have a lot of positive memories about just growing in that place and being okay with failing in that place and not being, you know, judged.
That's it. I mean, that's it right there. Like, we are a place where you come and you fail your ass off, but you get better at what you do, you know, and we give people a lot of places where they can fail, but then we also have shows after you've failed a long time. Now you get to do a show that's a good product, you know? So like Anti-Cooperation League has been around since 2007 as an improv show. We've done hundreds and hundreds of shows, but that has really good improvisers on it. It's people that have really, who have failed, dude, who've just been shitty in the past and then just got better and better and better. So I'm glad that we can do that. I'm glad. And I know we'll get back to it. I know we'll make it through this. You know, I think it's going to be fine. But yeah, I want to get back to that. I want to get back to that live performance part of it.
Where do you see it going? Like, if you can, like, maybe like have a crystal ball, like, what do you think's gonna do you start a Ponzi scheme and now you live in Costa Rica? Like, what's going on?
Well, okay, so
like your perfect scenario, I'll say that if you're
I'm hoping that by summer we're starting to be able to do things inside again. In the spring, I'm hoping to be able to do stuff outside again, although I hate it, because it's just a lot of extra work. You know what I'm saying? So by late summer, I'd hope that we're starting to return back to normal. and by the end of the year, next year, things are starting to float again. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is I apply for a state job. I get that state job. I forget about comedy for the rest of my life.
Change your name.
Change my name. Cancel all my social media accounts, and just write scripts all by myself. And then when I'm 70 years old, I'm like, there was a time where I used to make people laugh.
Like, shut up, Grandpa. No, you didn't.
I swear, look at this poster, the Free Hooch Comedy Troupe, So that's my backup plan, is to get old and go by Rick.
Oh, one name? You're like
Yeah.
Madonna? Oh, I like that.
So people can't track me back to my past at all,
I didn't know that. I like the Skycap thing too. Maybe that's another route. You get back into the Skycap thing, pass it down to your kids.
I'm too old for that shit. There's no way. I'm going to just write scripts and work for the state. And then,
I don't recommend it. That's that's what I do during the day. It's in it's just,
dude. I'm telling you this because I think it's the perfect day job for what. I know this working for the state isn't fun, right? But it's a job that gives you benefits and health benefits and a retirement and everything like that comedy doesn't. And you got to get through for 8 hours, and sometimes you only have to work 4 days a week.
That's true.
And it's shitty. But you can get more pay, and there's there's regular increases in pay. And then if you get good enough, because all the stuff we do is at night, right? Mm-hmm. So if you get good enough at the stuff you're doing at night, then you could tell that state job to F off. But I'm just going to do everything in reverse. I'll have created a great comedy club. It failed because of COVID. I get a state job, and then literally I will write scripts all the time and write screenplays, and that'll be the way.
That's a good movie too.
Yeah.
Like if it's a movie about your own life, then you write a script, and then you're constantly trying to pitch it around Hollywood. Everyone's telling you no, and then you run into Matthew McConaughey, right, in a coffee shop, and he spills his coffee on you. He's like, "Oh my God, I feel so sorry. Is there anything I can do?" And you have the script in your back pocket. And I
used to make people laugh. That's the name of the screenplay.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
And actually, in my thing, he would deck you. And
he's
like, move out of the way, you.
Oh God.
Like, Matthew McConaughey's a dick.
Is he? I don't know anything.
No. But I would just love to make him that way. He seems like a really nice guy. But him punching you after he spilled coffee on you.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that.
That'd be a good story.
I appreciate you saying that about the state thing, because I do think that way. I appreciate it a lot now, during this whole COVID thing, because my whole time spent there was telling people that they shouldn't be working there. Like, they told me to stop doing it. I would always tell people, like, don't you have I realize this too, and that's why I think I came up with that thing, about my thing about stop pursuing your passion. Like, people shouldn't be chasing their dreams. Like, a lot of people don't have dreams. Like, they just work. And they were okay with, like, in 40 years, they get that watch, at the retirement party.
Yeah.
Which made me depressed. The first retirement party I saw there, I was like, what? This watch is, like, literally $20. Like, it wasn't a good watch. It was, like, one at the Walmart thing. And it wouldn't even be on the rack at Walmart, or, like, in the case. It would just be one that's on the side, that you could, like, kind of in a bin. So it was just a depressing thing to see, I remember.
But I'll tell you this. My stepdad worked for the state for 40 years, right? And he was able to help me get into college. We didn't want for anything. We weren't rich, but we lived comfortable. We always had food. We always had a place to live. Like, you're providing for your family, But that doesn't mean that he didn't have dreams beyond that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
they're providing for his family? Yes.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, he's still taking care of my mom, and he's passed away 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago at this point. So you see what I'm saying? Like, with you have a job you may not like, and I get it. There's a lot of crap that goes on working for the state.
Oh, I love it now because I can work from home. Yeah, I can work from home. If it could have been like this the whole time, I work from home, and it's great. Now, the only thing I hated was actually having to go there.
Yeah.
And be in the office, because I'm like, why do I got to sit here? Because
Right.
sometimes they'd be like, and my manager wasn't like this, but sometimes I don't even like being asked anything. Sometimes they'd be like, hey, came by your desk, you weren't there. Where were you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I wasn't at my desk, obviously.
Yeah.
Because like what? First of all, you don't need to sit at your desk for 8 hours. And I'm like, what are you guys doing in those cubicles for 8 hours? Because I know you're
Right.
not working. Because you end
Right.
up working with people, and I'm like, you guys are not very intelligent because this work does not take that long. What are you typing? And I was like, and I go by the computer, and they're not even on Facebook. I'm like, so what are you doing? You're actually working on this thing? You
Right.
should be fired. That's what I told them. I said, hey, I said that in a meeting one time. Hey, anybody here ask for overtime? You should be fired.
Yeah.
You should be fired immediately. If you need longer than 2 hours to do this assignment. They gave me 3 months. It took me 15 minutes.
But it's true. You know, that's the kind of shit that sucks working for the state, because you have people there that just showing up and they know they can kind of do their job and then go home afterwards.
Everything has to be at a baseline,
Right.
like, which I like. That benefits me a lot. Like the, you know, whatever level has to be able to do the assignment versus the most talented person. And I like being able to just, you know, like mail it in and still be exceptional.
Yeah, but now you get to pursue something and know that you have a job at home that's going to pay the bills and stuff like that. I'm all for being practical about trying to get into comedy. You know, like have a day job, do that thing, and do this at night. You know, and then just keep trying at night, and that's the thing that you do. That's your go out in the garage and work on cars thing. You're just going to comedy clubs and working on jokes.
And I know 100% agree, because the people that I know that don't have jobs that do comedy, it's not like they have a new 20 minutes every week. I'm like, what are you guys doing all day? They're the worst. Like, what are you're living in a van, which sometimes I kind of envision doing, like as an artist, to be dope. Like you know, inspiring. Every day I'd wake up and write, and they live in a van and they don't have a new 5 minutes.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing all day? You're just smoking weed and living in a van? That's not good.
Yeah, that's not working towards your craft, you know.
But it is motivation, though, because I use it as like, if you want to get out of here, then you need to work on this thing over here. So
Right.
I do use it as, because I think if I do, the only other job, like you said, you could have taught theater, you know, but I bartended for a long time, and that was very similar to I think the whatever feeds my brain about comedy. That's the closest thing I've had. So I could, if comedy was like a state job or a bartending was, I could picture myself doing that forever.
Right.
And it wasn't hard on my body. I'm getting older now. That thing was getting, I'm like, why is my back hurting? I can't do this. But I don't want a safety net that I like too much.
Yeah, the airport for me, you know, like I was even younger when I quit, but now looking back, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'd be dead right now. Just always lifting 70-pound bags onto a belt all day long. So I started getting annoyed when, like, especially when I was working at the one in Davis, because I would, like, 21-year-olds would come in. I have nothing in common with you. They're like 19 in college, or, you know, they're 21, and they're like, I'm like, oh my God. Because you need to make so many more mistakes. They're like thinking, I hear them talking. I'm like, no, dude, you need to go pass out in an alley and throw up. Like, you haven't lived yet. This is horrible advice. I told them all it was last call during finals, and they were leaving. I'm like, where are you guys going? This is not how you do it. You need to be up here blacking out and then figure it out. It was horrible advice that I'm giving. Yeah. I wish I could go back and tell 20-year-old Brian a bunch of shit. You know, like things would be a lot easier.
What would you tell yourself? What would you tell yourself?
Don't do comedy.
Be a businessman, whatever that means.
Whatever that means, whatever job came up. No, I would give myself I would definitely say find a practical job and do that stuff at night. You know, don't do a job that you have to hustle like Skycap or whatever. You know, find something that has a little bit stability, because all the stuff, I mean, if you think about it, all the stuff that I was doing to really start to get the Comedy Spot together, I was doing at night. I could have still done that at night and had like a regular job, you know.
Was for some reason, at night?
What's that?
Was Skycap super early in the morning? Like when?
No, it was super early in the morning, and then I would have the rest of the day. But you know what? I don't know, because you know what I haven't talked about through this whole thing is I have 3 kids, dude. I have 3 kids, you know. So, and I'm not just a dad that sees them like on a Sunday. You know, like I have my kids full time, you know, like, so I had to have a job that was flexible enough where I could work in the morning and then see the kids and then do stuff at night, but no wonder why my first marriage failed, because I never saw her. Like I was always at working, and then family in the middle. So I feel bad that I made other people sacrifice so much. I know my first, my wife, my ex-wife, she sacrificed a lot, and then even Mignon, who's my current girlfriend, I mean, she sacrifices a lot. She always gives me shit because I don't take vacations and stuff, but I'm a workaholic who's always trying to make sure that we're getting to the next thing, trying to expand the comedy shop, trying to make sure we're staying in business. So I don't know. I don't know if I would go back and tell, what, screw it. I'm not telling my old self anything. I'm just going to let myself figure it out again, because it turned out pretty okay so far. I have a great family. I have tons of friends and people that are around me that are good people. And I made a bunch of mistakes, but nothing that I did. I haven't tried to hurt anybody. I've always tried to be a good person, and I know that I've hurt people, but I've never tried to do it on purpose. So F it. Let my 20-year-old self relive everything again and figure it out.
You know what? Yeah, because none of it matters coming to this point anyway, right? Like,
right.
like no one ever saw this coming. Like, none of that matters. Just steal everything. And I get that about the relationships, man. I've definitely messed up in the past, but they've all made me better.
Yeah.
A better person. Like, and I always took that to heart after something ended, or when something doesn't work, I really always try to figure out, and I do the same thing with comedy. Like, that didn't work because I did something. So like, what was wrong with it? Yeah. You didn't say you were too aggressive, whatever, or even in past relationships, I'm like, they kept bitching at you to do this, that for your next relationship, you need to fix that. Like, you weren't, whatever, you weren't listening, which is I still have struggle with, obviously. But
how long have you been doing stand-up, by the way?
6 years.
6 years. And you're good. You're good at what you do. You're you connect with the audience, and you've been around a lot of people that aren't good, I'm sure. There's probably some even people that you're like, why is that guy still doing comedy? I don't understand it. But you have the reason that you are a good comedian is because of what you just said, which is if it's not working, it's something that I did. And I think a lot of comedians, they want to blame the audience, and they want to blame the owner of the venue, and they or I didn't get enough sleep, or I didn't come prepared, or that would have worked if it wasn't because of that, or that mic didn't work, so it's their fault. People tend to blame everybody else in this business, but what they have to start, you have to have ownership over your mistakes. If something's not working, it's something that you're doing. And if you just focus on that, I can change that or get rid of that joke. It's not working. It sucks. Move on. Write something else. But I think a lot of comedians have a hard time with that, especially now too. A lot of younger comedians, they want to be told they're good when they're not good.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're just not good.
I've heard them talking before, and they're like, and I won't say a few things. Like, I won't say anything because like if they're like, yeah, everyone on the lineup crushed. I did a show this. I'm like, did they? Did everyone on the lineup crush? Because that's not even probably possible, right? And
right.
What are you saying by crush? Because if Mikey Winfield came in and did a set right before you, did you do well now? Like, is your set that? Is your set that? Because if it's not, you know what I mean? Then like that's what I think is a good set. I've seen that guy get damn near standing ovation. I've seen him get standing ovation. So it's like that is what I see. And I think at the time that I started, I got to see a lot of really good comics who started getting stuff, but it seemed ordinary to me at the time. I'm like, that is just what the expectation of a good set.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, I've seen Insane Wayne, I've seen Kyrie, I've seen Jay, and I just Cheryl, and I'm like, that's okay, that's a good set.
Right.
So, and another thing too is what you're saying about people not, or blaming different other things other than themselves.
Yeah.
I'll see that too when they they don't go to certain rooms. They'll only go to a certain room because they do well there. And I'm like, that's a huge, like, if you're not doing well somewhere, you keep going back there till you get better.
Yeah. No, that's great advice.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, every time you run into that audience now, and you're just going to be okay with bombing.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what show you're getting booked on, right? Like the better you get, the more shows you're going to get booked on. So, but now you're going to run into that audience one day and you're just going to be okay with not doing well. But I think a lot of the things too about you saying like not blaming the audience, I would see early on. I learned, and I think that was good about me maybe starting later in life, was I didn't come into this for like friends. Like
Right.
I kind of was like, you know, I was in the office not liking it, and I'm like, dude, I need to do something else.
Right.
And I'd see people bitch about something, or I'd see everyone not doing well and having the same pessimistic attitude towards maybe it's at the Comedy Spot and there's no one there. Everyone's saying
Right.
this night sucks. There's 4 people here.
Right.
Somebody would come in and do well. Somebody would, and you were just bitching about it. And now what do you look like?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I really saw
What
that
did they
early
do?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody did come in here and kill. You just you lost before you even got up with that
Right.
attitude. Or you're trying to give yourself a way out so you can be like, oh, I knew it was going to suck anyway, so I didn't
Right.
do well. But, you know, I think that's a huge thing. But the Comedy Spot has been a huge, huge place in helping me grow. I don't want to keep you too long, man, because I know you got other stuff going on. But I really do appreciate you doing this. And Comedy Spot, yeah, has been one of the hugest things in helping me, like, even pursue stand-up, do stand-up, getting better at it, people that I've met, and just really helping me grow as a stand-up comedian. And I probably wouldn't even be doing it without that place. So I really appreciate you, you know, having that place and it always, you know, being so welcoming to especially brand new comics.
Yeah.
And I've seen that place change since I've started and seen all the adjustments you make. So I really appreciate everything you've done for Sacramento comedy.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I'm glad that we can give people a place to get started. And then it's nice to see people like you who take that opportunity and just work their ass off and get really good at what they're doing. You're a funny guy, man. I really like seeing you on stage all the time. I can't wait to have you on shows in the future.
Anything else you want to plug or anything like that? I appreciate that.
Anything else I want to plug?
What is this? Oh shit! What is it?
You know what I've been doing on? I've been doing this show called Brian Crall Live. It's a live stream show I do during the day at 11 a.m. every day, and I use it as an opportunity to just have fun and spread some joy during the day. I've actually really enjoyed doing the show, and so if anybody's ever not working at 11 a.m. during the day, take a second and check that out. I just do dumb shit. I try to make you laugh.
What do you do on it? Are you doing improv? Like, are you just talking or topics?
So I do all kinds of stuff. Like I'll draw. I'll have the audience give me things to draw, and I'm terrible at drawing. And so everything comes out looking like a dildo. And then I read books. I read children's books where I put it's called Watch Your Mouth, the Watch Your Mouth game, and you put the little thing in your mouth, and then I read books and drool on camera. All kinds of just weird stuff like that. I play games with the audience. Luckily, I have like 10 viewers consistently from across the country that watch the show, or it would just be me doing dumb shit in front of a camera. So anyway, I enjoy it because it just the whole idea is to just have some fun during the day. And I've always been, through all of COVID, I've just been trying to keep people entertained and let them know that there is joy and the world will return to normal at some point in the future.
I hope I click on it and it's just you fighting with law enforcement about a parking ticket. I'm like, what is he filming this for? It's just you mowing your lawn, getting in arguments with people. I'm like, this is a good show.
Listen, dude, I do the show every day. I got to have content, so I got to start a fight with a cop sometimes.
Like, look, I'm gonna hit this guy with my car at the crosswalk. Watch this, guys. I'm like, this guy, he's committing felonies on camera. Brian should stop this show.
Listen, man, clicks. It's all about the clicks.
That's what I'm saying. I need you murdered on camera.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on, man, and thanks again, man. Appreciate everything.
Sincerely, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Random Thoughts Podcast with Robert Omoto. Please subscribe, share, rate, and review. Go to www.robertomoto.com for more information. And we'll catch you next time.